Today we are going to finish off what we were talking about in Chapter 2 with lipids, and we will move through proteins and into DNA and RNA. And let me turn off this light so that you can see better. Is that better? Yes. All righty. Okay, before I get started, is there anything that we need to discuss from last time? Everybody's cool? We're all excited and happy? Seems like there's a lot less people here. I suppose when you put something online, there are a lot less people that come in. So maybe I'll have a pop quiz coming up here at some point. So hopefully they'll hear that. Okay, so in talking last time where we left off with lipids, lipids include not just the fats, but also things like cholesterol. And cholesterol is an important component of our cell membranes. Our cells need to have this fluid nature to them so that as they're moving around, they can bounce and bump off one another and be flexible. Because if you had cells and they were like little glass bubbles, then you would be in trouble. So cholesterol is going to attach to your blood vessel walls and cause them to thicken. Some of this is happening naturally, but for anybody who's ever been diagnosed with high cholesterol, you know that can kind of be a problem, and you find most of this being produced in the liver. And so the liver is causing the cholesterol to be released, and then the places where it builds up, obviously if it builds up in your heart, you're going to end up having trouble with that. So lipids are defined into several categories. Phospholipid is a lipid that has this what's called hydrophilic head, and then it has a hydrophobic tail. So a hydrophilic head means it's attracted to water. So yes, hydrophilic is attracted to water, and hydrophobic means it's repelled by water. So the hydrophobic tails are towards the inside, and the hydrophilic heads are towards the outside. So they are aligned in that way so that they're always extending towards the water, and their tails are always directed away from the water. And so you'll sometimes see phospholipid designated as that character in the book, and you can see the way that it builds up in these chains, which are important for the functioning of our life. Cholesterol and phospholipids are lipids that are not fats. So even though we tend to think of lipids as fats like margarine or oils or olive oil or things that we eat in our diet. They are also important components of our cell membranes, and if you don't have them, you won't be able to produce the hormones that you have in your body, the steroid hormones that regulate growth and development, important regulators of growth and development. And so, bless you. The next thing that we'll talk about, so we've talked about carbohydrates and now lipids. Now we're moving on to proteins. So proteins, and this is kind of a funny picture. She's looking all voluptuous. And what they were trying to point out in this picture is that both hair and feathers are made out of proteins. And so proteins serve as these building blocks. One of the first things that you find when people become nutritionally deficient is that their hair falls out. And so having good, strong, healthy hair is an outward sign. I guess if you think about it evolutionarily, if you wanted to choose who you were going to mate with, you choose the person that has really great hair because it shows that they're really healthy. And so same thing, your fingernails also, if you had feathers, they would be made of proteins. So protein diversity, just as carbohydrates and lipids are macromolecules, proteins are this body-building macromolecule, and everybody needs proteins. Proteins do a variety of different functions. Here we see up at the top the structural, your hair, your fingernails, if you had horns, cartilage, tendons. So these structural building blocks of your body. They also have protective nature to them, where they fight off invading microorganisms, and they coagulate blood. That word coagulate means it gels the blood together so that it can stop bleeding. They form a regulatory function where they control cell activity and constitute some of your hormones. They are contractile. If you think of your muscles expanding and contracting as you're lifting weights, it allows your heart to pump, your muscles to work. It allows sperm to be able to swim. And they also function in transport, where they carry these molecules around your body. So proteins are definitely important in you being able to, 1, build your body, and 2, function as a human. So the building blocks of the proteins in the first place, as we go from proteins, then we go down to amino acids. There are 20 different amino acids that are these building blocks of proteins. And they are strung together in a particular order in order to make the protein into what it is. So particular amino acids do particular things. I think back to the days when I used to go to the gym really hardcore and work with a trainer, and he gave me an amino acid supplement, and the amino acid supplement was designed to help me build better muscles while I was working out. Sometimes it's hard to get them from your foods, and if you think about eating a variety of different foods, you need to have different foods so you can get all of those 20 essential amino acids. And if you're deficient on any of those, that can be a problem. Yes?
Is protein the one that's in charge to restoring muscles too?
Yes. Yes. It's definitely repairing. So if you break your muscles down when you're bodybuilding, you know how the muscles kind of rip and tear as you're building muscle? The amino acids are building those proteins that are putting you back together. So, yes. So what does an amino acid look like? It has a nitrogen, and it has the 3 hydrogens around it. It's also built up of carbon and oxygen. And the side chain, which is what is called, is part of what makes each of these 20 different amino acids unique. So these proteins and amino acids are going to vary in size, they're going to vary in shape, and they're going to vary in charge. And part of those charges is what makes them function the way that they're supposed to function. So anytime you see these enes, I-N-E, on the back of the word, that usually indicates that it's some kind of amino acid. So they're building blocks of proteins.